Welcome to the Influential Christian Entrepreneur Podcast, where we uncover the inspiring stories and strategies of successful Christian entrepreneurs. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of interviewing Amanda Moxley, who is an international business coach with 18 years of experience. Amanda is best known for helping her clients create wealth in a weekend. While most business coaches help their clients have six-figure years, Amanda coaches her clients to have six-figure paydays. Amanda is the creator of the Speak and Grow Rich Challenge, which walks you through how to assemble your audience, turn your words to wealth, and generate a year's worth of income in a weekend through the power of profitable live and virtual event retreats and workshops. Wow, Amanda, that sounds amazing. How are you today?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me.
So 18 years of experience in the online business world?
Yeah, I got the wrinkles to show it, guys. I started when I was 30 and now I'm 48. It's gone like that.
Well, 18 years ago, I'm not even sure that I knew there was an online business world other than, physical product. But
Right?
like coaching 18 years ago, I don't even think it was in my radar, like
Yeah,
on my radar at all.
I say I'm a late bloomer, but I'm also early.
You're super
I'm early
early.
to the party, but yeah. So yes,
What
I
year
don't
was
know.
it when you
Yeah,
started?
I started in 2005.
Oh my gosh, that's before
Yeah.
my son was born. So you weren't. Think about this. I started in 2019. So
Okay, yeah.
like you are super early. And so what I'm curious, how did you find about how did how did you
Yeah.
find out about the online business world?
So I was getting I'll take it back a minute. I was having a quarter life crisis and I was having a quarter life crisis and I was doing a fast. I was doing a fast and I ended up going somewhere and I met this woman who told me about a degree that she was getting from the university. So at that point, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. So she told me about this degree. So I went and I met the head of the department of this integrative health department. And the professor said, this degree is really good if you have something else. If you have a fitness degree or if you're a massage, you're already into holistic health. This would be a complement to that. So then I started journaling and praying and I saw, okay, well, I got it. I could be a therapist. I could be a therapist and I could counsel people and then I could bring in integrative health and wellness into my practice. So that's what I did. I applied. I got into the master's program to become a social worker, to be a therapist. And then during that time, somehow I found this red magazine. I don't know how it found me, but this red magazine, I literally wonder where that was. Red magazine from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York City. And it said you could make six figures as a holistic health coach. So I then joined the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York. I flew back to New York every single weekend for a year and I became a holistic health coach. And that is where I learned all about coaching and the world was online. And yeah, that's where it all
Wow, that's
started.
how it all started. So you started as a holistic coach dealing with health and then but that's not what you do anymore. You teach people how to do
Exactly.
challenges. Okay.
Yes. So what I did is I started out as a holistic health coach and a therapist. And then from there, I went around my town speaking and I would get clients through speaking. And then
Mhm.
in 2012, I shifted to be a money mindset business coach. In 2017, I niched further into helping people with speaking and profitable live events that generate a year's worth of income in a weekend. Because that was kind of
Wow.
my journey. Yeah.
That's what I see and my journey as well. You kind of start here and then because you're an entrepreneur and you're online, right? You can start niching, retooling until you get to that really like nice spot where you really feel at home and enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
who knows
that's
what's
really
going
good.
to happen next? I've been doing
I,
this niche now for I guess 6 years.
6 years
So
now.
who knows what will be around the corner, but I really like where I am right now.
Right, the next iteration. So tell me a bit. Well, we connected because I noticed that you are a Christian online entrepreneur, a successful one, which would mean also that you're an influential one, like the name of the podcast, Influential Christian Entrepreneur. And although you were one of the first people that I reached out to, it took us a little bit because you're a busy lady. And I just wanted to know a little bit more about your background. Have you always been a Christian? Did you become a Christian later on in life? Tell me a little bit
Yeah,
about
sure.
that.
So I actually grew up Catholic. I'm from Utah, which is a primarily LDS Mormon
Mm-hmm.
place. My family's from Philadelphia and Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised here in Utah, and I went to 13 years of Catholic school, and I always felt really connected to God. And then there was a lot of guilt, there was a lot of shame, what have you. I went to a private Catholic school, and I was partying, drinking, doing what any good Catholic would do. If I'm talking to any Catholic, you know what I
I
mean.
used to be a Catholic, yeah.
So like I was like, well, whatever. So anyway, I always felt pretty guilty and felt shame. And I joke that it's funny I'm wearing a cross. I kicked my cross to the curb at 18 because I was like, I can't handle all this guilt. I can't handle all this shame. Then I went off to college. I had some really fun adventures. I lived in France, my third year of college. I lived in Paris. I lived in south of France. I ended up going to Jerusalem and having this very spiritual experience. And then during that time when I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, I really got into yoga. And I got into yoga. I ended up going to India. I went to an ashram in India, and I was super into the new age stuff. I remember going to an ashram in India, and I said, my goal is to get enlightened. And so they believe, hey, you just reach samadhi and you just whatever. And so they're like, well, we've never really had anyone come here and say that's their goal. I'm like such an American. I'm like, this is the goal. I'm getting it done. Oh gosh. And I had a great spiritual experience there. And then as the years went by, I suffered sometimes with just being an entrepreneur, right? Like the money part, sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. It was a journey. I actually wrote a book called NJO Money Drama, Get Off the Feast or Famine Roller Coaster and create abundant wealth or something like that. Or create wealth without limits. So I rode this roller coaster. So I was dealing with a lot of anxiety. I was like fear, when will the other shoe drop? Just stuff from childhood programming, right? Anyway, so in about 2017, something major happened in my life where the new age tools I had been using just were not going to cut it anymore. I needed the real God. I needed like the real thing. So I remember once I was scrolling, something major happened to me and I was like crying and I posted on Facebook and I said something like I could use some love right now. Like so I probably would never do that now as a Christian. I would be like, I don't know what kind of love you're bringing my way. But anyway, so I was like, I need some love. And someone posted the picture of Jesus and it's Jesus's hand reaching down in the water, pulling you up from the water. And I just cried and cried and cried. And then in my mind, while I was going through that, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember I met this man on a hike a few years ago where I was hiking with my son and he was hiking with his sons. And he told me about this Christian church here in Utah. I am going to go check it out. So I went to this church. This was early 2017. And that is when, the Holy Spirit came, the music, I just started opening my heart. And that is when I became a Christian. And then
Wow.
in 2017. So yeah. And then as I've opened up, I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I had no idea that, and this will help if people are into yoga, like you're basically bowing down to Hindu gods.
Yes. I didn't
And
understand that at all. I wasn't a big yoga person, but I had no idea. I'm like, it's spiritual. It's just exercise. It's
yep,
just whatever. And it's a spiritual practice,
right.
actually.
And I knew that because I was a teacher and I went to India and I had a great experience in India where I was up in the Himalaya mountains and I was at this ashram. And so there were a bunch of Israeli people because people from Israel, they serve in their military, then they take a year off a lot of
Yes.
times and they travel the world. So I'm in India and I'm like, oh yeah, when in Rome. And I'm bowing down to these gods and these Israel guys were like, oh no, we don't bow down to any other gods. And I remember being like, why? It's not a big deal. But then, yes, it is. I repent for it. Yeah.
Yes, I even got into Buddhism and a little bit was messing with it. And I remember taking my kids with me. This was like 2018. And I remember we were like in the temple or whatever, and there's this figure of Buddha, and people were bowing to it. And my daughter, I mean, I was secular back then, and And my daughter is asking me, like, I didn't bring her up. She wasn't brought up in church or anything or as a Christian, but she recognized that. She's like, why are we bowing down to this? What is this? And that
Statue.
really, after that, I didn't go back. I'm like,
Right.
my own kid had to wake me up. So it
Good
sounds
job.
good. It sounds really lovey-dovey, and just really like you say, enlightenment and spiritual, but it's a false doctrine, right?
Right. And it's
It's
a
a
very
false,
slippery slope. Like
yeah,
when I was into New Age, I didn't even believe in hell
yeah,
because they believe in
right,
reincarnation.
right,
You'll come back. It's karma. You'll come back. Don't worry
true,
about it. Next life, you'll be cool.
yeah.
Um, but it's not the case. And it's really scary to think that so many people are on that slippery slope.
So many, because it feels good. It's like you can just continue living your life the way it is, and as long as you don't kill anybody, you're good,
Yeah.
right?
Right. It's
But that's
even
not how it is.
recently I had a conversation with a friend. She actually owns a yoga studio, and she said, "Well, God, I believe God's a really loving God." She's Catholic, okay? So she's like, I really believe God is a really loving God, and He just accepts everyone." I said, "Well, I used to think that too until I read the Bible in a year, and I've been studying it every day for the last 5 or 6 years, and it literally says He's a jealous God, He's an envious God, He's a God. Fear of the Lord is a real thing."
But that's the hardest part. When I was into the spiritual type of stuff, I didn't want to accept that. I'm like,
Right.
why is he a jealous God? Why is he full of vengeance, and why is he angry at me? I didn't, I felt like these were all made up things, because God would be a loving God. I wanted to build my own version of
Right.
God, which is idolatry.
Yep.
And it's a hard pill to swallow when you first kind of start realizing that, wait, oh, it's not how I want to fashion my God. He has his way of being, and I'm the one who needs to change.
Yes.
It's a
Right.
hard pill to swallow.
It is.
A
It's
hard
very
pill to
humbling.
swallow. And so, we, being ex-Catholics and gone through the New Age and everything, and now we're here. You came to Jesus, I think you said 2017. I didn't come to Jesus till 2020. Funny thing is
Oh.
that we both kind of got there through social media,
Hmm.
because
I didn't get there
I
through social media. I got there from
well,
a guy hiking in real life.
you said that you posted something on Facebook and somebody
Oh,
posted
that too.
something, and then
Yes.
you thought, okay,
Yeah.
well, funny thing is that when after you do during 2020, where we're locked down and all that, that was a hard time. I just started seeing little pieces of content here. I don't know who, I don't know what, just little pieces of thing that I rejected them initially, but just kind of simmered in the back of my head,
Hmm.
and just kind of softened the ground,
Yes. Yes.
enough for somebody to drop a seed that then started to grow. It was a
Yes.
process. I can't tell you exactly when it started, but it was through social media. And
That's cool.
we got to remember that the enemy is doing a fantastic job at using social media for his agenda. And we
Hmm.
Christians, are we trying to do something about that? I
Hmm.
I feel like we probably haven't been doing a great job at it. But I wanted to ask you about,
That's cool.
we've always been told that we should never mix faith and business, that
Hmm.
mixing religion and politics with business is bad for business. And that's how I felt for a long time, even after I became a Christian. No, you don't talk about your religious beliefs, because you may alienate people, business, you may lose business. I wanted to know your opinion about that. Is that how it's supposed to be, or do you think that it's okay to mix faith
Well,
in your
I think
business?
I didn't really grow up, or I've been an entrepreneur 18 years. So I didn't grow up in a real corporate, do this, do that,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So I never really walked that path. But for me, I know personally, I can't do business without God. And if you have a personal brand, if you're a speaker, an author, a coach, they're buying you. They're buying you, your life experience, your stories, the transformation that you provide. They're seeing themselves in you. You're a version of a hero to them. So, and faith is like, so I remember I had a client, well, an amazing client, and I wasn't a Christian then. I just admired her faith because she would always say, "Well, It just depends on what the Lord wills, or, God, she had such faith that it was interesting to me that she would put all of her faith in him and like an unseen God, and that she would just rest on him. So we make these little sparks of difference in people's lives and plant those seeds.
Through your personal brand, through who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Plant those
people like
seeds.
me. It's interesting because back then I would attract more yoga people. Now I'm attracting Christian people.
Right. Is it because of the things do you think it has something to do with the spark in your life or the example you're setting, or also the fact that in your case, you're quite explicit about your faith
Yeah,
on your
I don't
profiles?
know. I think, you attract what you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have some clients that I don't know if they're Christian, but yeah, I also, what you speak, you repel people with your words, or you magnetize people with your words. So through my words, I think I'm attracting, and I think that there's so much when you have faith, that's magnetic, because people want that. They want that shelter from anxiety or fear or doubt or worry, insecurity. And like today, I had a client, and I just said, you know what, you can battle back to that, and you need to use the sword of the spirit, which is the word of God.
The
And
truth,
that
right?
is like, that devil's already been defeated, kicked in the teeth. So you have nothing to worry about. You have authority, and you can stand on that word and stand on that authority and kick back, push back. You don't have to
Right.
accept what happened to you 30 years ago. You have authority. You can push through it now.
You can put sure now. That's really great because when you are working with people, some people might come to you because you're a Christian and they want that
Hmm.
additional dimension of support, right?
Right.
Uh, layer, whatever you want to call it, not just the coaching, but also whatever you can help with. And some people may not care that you're Christian. They just think you're an awesome coach, but that may be an opportunity for you not to hit them on
Yes.
top of the head with the Bible, but because they see in you a light and you have openly stated what your faith is because it is part of who you are, to inspire them in a way,
Mhm.
or plant that little seed that may germinate in the future. You never know.
Well, that happened. That's another seed that happened. I had a coach back in 2017, 2016, and she said, I'm reading the Bible in a year. And I'm like, how is this absolutely gorgeous, extremely, multi-millionaire coach, successful, married, husband, amazing house, real estate? How is this like, okay, this lady's reading the Bible? Because people
Right.
judge you by your fruit.
Yes.
So exactly, people, and then it's like, well, I think the enemy, I don't think it even says in the Bible, like, it's like the enemy will shield people's ears and eyes from seeing and hearing. And so when you see someone so a lot of times I would judge back in the day, and maybe some of y'all are with me. I remember judging Christian people because I'm like, I even hear with the global warming thing. I
Oh.
remember thinking I would judge because there's a lot of Mormon real estate. The Mormons the church owns a ton of real estate.
Mhm.
And we were in a huge drought. It's the middle of November. We haven't had a lick of water, and they are watering their grass. And I was like, yeah, they don't even care about the environment. They just think Jesus is going to come down here and save them. Me and being real talk and judging them. And, so there's so much condemnation and judgment. And I feel like that. I mean, as Christians, we are persecuted. People just straight up. I had this lady, yeah, I'll just be unfiltered. Even in this, I won't be specific, but in a group that I'm in with my kids, that my daughter is a part of a group, I have been, um, I've been picked aside because I'm the only Christian in there that I know of. I've been picked aside and been picked apart for my beliefs and what I value and what I don't value and what I do not condone. And I've been picked apart. So people, it's just normal. We're gonna be persecuted.
You're
We're
going
gonna,
to be persecuted, right?
yeah,
Because just saying the name of Jesus is going to ruffle feathers. And when you speak truth, people are going to be offended by it. Doesn't matter
yes,
what. But our job is to speak it in the most loving way that we can. And
yeah,
how people feel about it is not something that we can control, right?
right.
But Jesus told us, I saw a Bible verse that says that we are supposed to spread the great news to every creature.
Yep. Every knee shall
And
bow,
yeah,
every
and
tongue will
so
confess. Yep.
as online entrepreneurs, we have a unique opportunity because I read something that a person in a lifetime, one person can influence 80,000 people in their lifetime, can
Wow.
influence. to reaching two people a day. And as online entrepreneurs, and we're always online, it could be even more than that.
Wow.
So do you think that
Love that.
and your statistic that I heard on your video, that there's 165 million people coming on the online space into the creator economy in the past 2 years, which is
Yes.
crazy, the amount of people online.
1,500 new coaches.
1,500. Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a year? 1,500 or a day?
I don't, the stat I saw was a year.
Oh my gosh. So that's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
that we can reach. Do you feel
No,
like
that's 1,500 becoming coaches.
becoming coaches that are online all day,
Yes.
but we can reach them somehow? And that comes to my next question. Do you think that Christians who are online entrepreneurs, do you think we should be a little bit more vocal, depending on, doesn't have to, everybody doesn't have to have the same style. Do you think we need to be made it known more than we are right now?
Yeah.
What do you feel about that?
Well, I don't like to shit on anyone. I feel like if God is telling you he wants to use your words or words than your mouth, then 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client, he told me, he said his secret was he was a Christian, but he didn't blast it out. He
Mm-hmm.
basically just had a big light in him and he had a radiance, and people would say, well, what is it about you? Because you're different. And then
Mm-hmm.
he would have like a one-on-one, minister to them one-on-one and say, he said, I brought Jesus into my heart. Jesus has changed my life. I'm a follower of Jesus. And now, would you want to accept Jesus into your heart? So he had a
Right.
different approach. He was Canadian, so their culture is not as
Right.
big,
Big mouth as we
bravado.
are.
Yeah, bravado as we are. So that was cool. So I don't think you should shit on yourself. I think we're all called. Like some what is it? Some plant seeds, some water, and some the
Exactly.
harvest.
It doesn't
So,
always have to be through words.
yeah,
It could be through
through
your
action.
actions,
Yes,
and we don't all work with Christians. Many of us work with people who are not Christians
right.
because we don't want to preach to the choir.
Yeah,
The whole point is to reach other people. So it depends on the context, on your business, on your personality, on so many different things. People have different
right.
ways. Which we should not do is draw back and hide it and
Right.
become cultural chameleons or whatever you want to call that. So that's a really good point.
Well, when you
Um,
really think about eternity, it's like this life is so like the Bible says that our life is as wide as our hand. And here
mm,
I'm in my 48, so I'm halfway through. And if you think like this place, like eternity, when you think about forever and that people will go to hell, I mean, this is like crazy. They could go to hell. And it's like, because I didn't speak up, because I didn't have the courage to say something to them, to plant the seed that I was supposed to plant, they could go to hell. And I know, they could turn their heart at the end of life. They have a journey, but it's a really
it's
short life.
it's a really short life. Wow,
And
and
then
we were
and when we die, Jesus is gonna, do you want him to say, "Oh, I didn't even know you. I
I
didn't
didn't
even
even
know
know you.
you,"
And
or him to say, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
how did we get so lucky, you and I, that we were blessed with having that awakening, waking up, discern, whatever it was. He gave
Mhm.
us undeserved, what is it called,
Grace.
undeserved grace or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, how did we get so lucky
Well, I
and
think
get
God,
here?
I think God really chases down, like He will chase down the 99 or the one and leave the 99. And so I think God is doing this to absolutely everyone listening, and yet it's almost like your life has to get, for me, my life had to get pretty bad
Mm,
in order for me to call on something bigger than myself.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, but sometimes even in the Bible it talks about he will it even says God will shelter their eyes and ears, which is so sad. I mean, he literally calls people children of Satan.
Right. That's a really scary thought. A really scary thought. And funny thing is, when I was on the other side, when I was secular, I thought it was all nonsense. To be
Yeah,
honest with you, I thought it was like, nah, nah, come on, that was just fear tactics, manipulation, stuff
right.
like that.
Well, see, here as a Christian though, we're in relationship with God. We're not in religion. We're not religious.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
that's the thing, is if you're in relationship and not religion, religion will condemn and control and keep you, manipulate you. But your relationship with God, God is love.
And that's the problem. A lot of people will think those two things are the same, God and religion, and they'll throw the baby away with the bathwater.
Exactly. And that I think is the enemy's tactic.
Tactics. Yeah, tactics. Bad mouth us. A lot of people, nominal Christians, do things that make us all look bad, that, affect the reputation of God. People under the Christian label have done things that, and so, and that's why we need discernment. So that is amazing. I am so glad to hear your point of view on this topic, because I think it's important. More and more people, and this may just be my impression, but I've heard it from other people as well, that many of us are waking up. That a lot of people are coming to Christ in the past 3 years.
Yes.
There have been these huge baptisms in different places. There are revivals taking place, and I think that it's time that we, put on the full armor of God and be on the offensive.
Mm.
Doesn't mean to be offensive to people, but we need to be on the offense, right?
Yes.
Instead of just being on the defensive all the time, because this is how things have gotten so bad.
Mhm.
Um, and so I wanted to know, what do you have going on with your coaching program? Any events, anything taking place that people
Oh,
can
sure.
go? Something you can share, a link?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. So I have a master class I have a master class. I also have a challenge, a 5-day Speak and Grow Rich challenge, where I teach people how to turn their words to wealth, how to write their signature talk, how to get booked to speak, and then be able to sell one to many so that they can enroll a year's worth of income in a weekend. So the challenge is speakandgrowrichchallenge.com. And
Mm-hmm.
if you want a little sample of it, you can come into the Speak and Grow Rich Masterclass.com. And
Mm-hmm.
that masterclass is a preview of the challenge. And I walk you through how you can generate a year's worth of income in a weekend. It includes a PDF when you come to the live event or the live masterclass, a PDF that walks you through how to have your own event,
Mm-hmm.
workshop, retreat, and how to do that in a way that you're going into your event in the green. You're not stressed out, like overextended, but that you can actually go into it and be profitable.
So people creating their own events, not going to other people's events.
Yes, yes,
Got it.
exactly.
Okay, I understand now. That's incredible. Like, so you work one to one, or is it a group program?
So the challenge is a group for sure. Yeah.
Okay, and then
Because
after that,
yeah.
they go into your one to one program, or?
Well, everything I do, I've been coaching so long that I
Mhm.
realize that most people have the same questions. And so
Mhm.
I have a VIP that's 100K. So my mastermind, my higher level mastermind is 100,000. Most
Mhm.
people go to the first step and then they graduate to that step. So the first step is a group, because I feel
Uh,
like people, they get so much from the group. They get so much value from the questions, the answers, the ahas of the group. And that's how it works.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Wow. It's not every day that you meet a coach that's been in business for 18 years. That's a long time. So
I know.
it's
I know.
encouraging to the rest of us. Well,
Yes,
I mean, and we would have had those wrinkles anyway had you not been right in coaching,
right.
got into coaching. So why not be successful and have the gray
Exactly.
hair?
I have no Botox. One of my clients was like, Botox, you need Botox. I'm like, okay, maybe I will, but different subject.
Hey.
I haven't started with that yet, but I like the sun and I like skiing and I like biking and being outdoors. But and the thing is, people will really they can easily quit. I was just dug my heels in and I'm like, no, I am making this work.
Huh.
So you're going to handle, and that's a cool thing is like you need God to be
Mhm.
successful. Like the
Yeah.
spirit of rejection has to go, the spirit of disappointment, the spirit of just all those spirits, man, that we've
It
been in
doesn't mean
agreement
that
with.
you can't be successful. There are a lot of people who are not Christians or don't have any relationship with God that are successful.
Hmm.
But I know
You
somebody
need help.
explained the difference between having God in your business and being successful. And I think it was something like it was short lived. I'm not sure what it was, but
Yeah. Well, and I think that because I just think that business is hard because
mhm,
you're selling yourself, you're selling your services, and it's like it's
it's
just helpful to
intimidating.
have God, to be honest. And here's the
Super
thing,
helpful.
you were talking about it before. All principles work for all people. So the biblical principles, so basically there's 4 levels of value. The first one is you can teach with a lot of tactics, give people little like
Hmm.
tactics, how to's. The next one is strategy, a really cool strategy. The third one is the ability to have principles. And so when you're teaching on principles, all principles work for all people.
Right.
And the Bible is just filled with principles.
It's, in fact, we get most of our principles from scripture
Yeah,
and people don't even know it. Like, oh,
exactly.
that's in the Bible?
Yeah. Actually, I've been listening to some on YouTube. There's a bunch of old time books that were written in like the early 20s and maybe even early 1900s, 1920s, etc. And
Hmm.
they all, because the Bible was, see, we're talking to, you're saying, hey, should Christians publicly declare? The thing is, the Bible was taught in schools up until the 1960s. So it
Yes.
was a foundation for absolutely everyone. And these old books, they were all living off the principles and they didn't have all this information, but they had the Bible. So guys,
Yes.
just start reading the Bible. And I recommend the New Living Translation
Hmm.
personally. And I have like the senior print. It's like super thick, large
Super
print.
big. Is that easier for beginners, the New
Yeah,
Living?
I think it's super easy for beginners and I love it. Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that was hard for me to really read the Bible and not get frustrated because I wasn't understanding what I was reading. And I would just put
Yes.
it down and be like, I never understand this. Especially when you're reading Genesis, you're like, what?
Yes. New Living Translations. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I
Uh,
would get that Life Application Bible because there's study notes that explain everything in the bottom, like in the footnotes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good tip for newer Christians like myself. So
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Amanda, for taking the time to spend a minute with us here and giving us your insights on this wonderful journey of being an entrepreneur and being a Christian at the same time. And I want to thank all our listeners for tuning in today. I wanted to invite anyone, if you are a gentleman who is a Christian CEO or executive and you're trying to navigate the intersection between business and faith, that is something that we absolutely can help you with by helping you build a faith-driven personal brand on LinkedIn. And you can feel free to contact me at hello@francine.sinclair.com. Thank you so much, everybody. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week. See you again next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.